Good morning. I gave no announcement about today's live stream. I just figured after several weeks of not having done one, I think we should have a questions over coffee kind of session with the topic loosely being around starting up a business with like a laser transfer printer as your primary operation. So I think just based on a lot of the comments I've been getting over the past couple of weeks, laser transfer printing is really piquing a lot of people's interest in regards to starting up a new business. And I've got a guide series out there where I think we're only 4 videos in so far, but one of the things I talk about is starting inexpensively. And really that's because the majority of the people who I've come across over the past, I don't know, 10 years who are trying to get started, they're jumping into screen printing not because they are independently wealthy and they want a hobby to pursue after they retire. They're interested in getting started in screen printing because they want to generate a secondary income and they're really wanting to get out of their day job. So for them, they don't have a lot of disposable income, and screen printing opens up the door for them to create $500 or $1,000 of side money that they wouldn't get from a part-time job. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to the first Friday morning live stream in probably a couple months. I see there's 3 or 4 people kind of poking around here so far. I'll wait just a couple minutes for everybody to get here, but I think that's going to be kind of interesting for us to explore, is whether or not a laser transfer printer is a viable startup option for a broader range of people than just hobbyists working out of their house. Could somebody who would have otherwise pursued screen printing do something like laser transfer printing? And the only reason this is even the question in my mind is because several people have asked, and these are people I think that were considering DTG. So I don't know. I don't know if it makes sense for anybody to spend more than, I would say, $1,000 on equipment when you're first starting out, because I believe you can get yourself a couple, hold on, I'm taking a roundabout turn. I believe you can get yourself a screen printing press, like a 2-station 4-color machine, some basic washout booth, pressure washer, and just some of the darkroom equipment, and get started on screen printing with very low cost of goods. We're talking, a gallon of ink for white is $55, and the whole screen printing setup could be under $500 if you really wanted to stretch it. And then you're generating money that quick, as opposed to tethering yourself down with an iColor or an Oki or any of the other options out there. Even if they're $3,000-$4,000, that's not that much, but why burden yourself with a $400 a month payment if you can generate that same kind of money in the first 6 months of starting up a screen printing operation, and then upgrade into a low quantity full color solution? And I think that's kind of what I want to explore, is the reasons why that makes sense. So let me see. I don't know if we've got any kind of chat rolling this morning or anything like that. Live chat. Let me switch over to live chat. All right. So we're bouncing up and down between 1 and 4 people. So that means you guys are probably on your way to work, just poking in to see what's going on. Maybe I don't have audio. I have no idea what my audio level looks like because I don't have access to any of that. I'm just on 4G. So if somebody who's in the chat can give me like a sound check to make sure that I'm good to go, please let me know. But so yeah, we're obviously getting a huge influx of people right now that are not just screen printers. They're not established people looking at expanding their options. Good to go? Awesome, Tony. Thanks for letting me know. But yeah, there's a lot of people who are interested. And we see that in the Discord. I don't know if you guys are part of the Discord yet, but it's people who are seeking information. They've been on the fence about getting into the apparel decoration scene, and the first couple of videos they've been exposed to are, well, they don't want to jump into DTG after seeing the one video because they realize that there's a lot of risks, there's a lot of expenses, there's a lot of maintenance that goes along with that, but they're looking for an alternative solution. And I just want to make sure that, I guess if there's probably going to be about 300 or 400 people that see this video in the next couple of weeks, and then it just about dies off with the algorithm. But if you're one of the 400 people that are going to see this video, you really have to ask yourself the hard financial questions that a salesman wouldn't ask you. Do you have a a network of people who are going to buy shirts from you. If you started a business tomorrow, I'm just going to assume that you don't have one. If you started a business tomorrow, Danny Ramos, what's going on this morning? Do you have a group of people who would buy shirts from you, guaranteed? And if you don't, then you're buying a machine on spec with the hope that you can create a market for yourself later. And that's not really a viable option. Rose Jean, good to see you this morning. Hello. Because if you're just taking on a couple $100 a month payment and you're hoping that you can create success, that's a dangerous place to be. You know, I've been there before. When I first upgraded just various pieces of my equipment, I did it on the hope that I would generate more business, and sometimes I created a burden for myself financially. And man, the worst thing you can do is jump into debt, risk defaulting on your payments and getting something reclaimed. Let's see here. So I just drove around the lake here near our house, and it looks like they're gearing up for the jet boat competitions, the ones where the guys are in the capsules, like the Budweiser jet boats that go like 200 miles an hour, because we've got a decent sized lake here next to the yacht club. Let me see here. I just saw somebody posted a longer one. Would the comparison be more suitable for screen printing and HP white printer conversion? The cost would be far more comparable. I think it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Danny. Last time we could hear them from like 4 miles away. The boats that they're racing are so loud, and they're completely unmuffled. You can just hear them from a long ways away. It piqued our interest. We drove down here and saw them. I think it was last year, and it's really fun to watch, because I mean these aren't the big like 20-foot long jet boats. They're smaller versions of them. And they'll race those that they're fully encapsulated, and then they've got guys that are running like car engines on the back of these speedboats. It sounds like just big, completely unmuffled V8 engines that they're blasting on the back of these boats, and that's pretty fun to watch. Okay, so I think that's kind of an interesting point, though, talking about doing a $200 or $300 HP conversion using Ghost White cartridges versus like an inexpensive screen printing startup. Let me take my turn here safely. I don't know if you can see that boat. I don't know if that's going to be a viable option or not, because I have zero experience with any of the lower end. Good morning, Dep Dad. Hey, Eddie, what's going on? I don't have any experience with some of the inexpensive printers that are on the market. And I know the Ghost White conversion kit, it's only a couple $100, but you're going to miss out on the Transfer Rip and the Pro Rip software that go along with the higher end transfer printers. And I think that's going to be the key difference. Either you're going to get too much toner coverage, you're not going to be able to control the imprint area. And again, I'm speaking out of ignorance, not out of experience on that, but there are a lot of factors on the laser transfer printing side. Even when you're talking about the best transfers on the market, we're talking about iColor premium transfers coming out of the 800W and using the ProRip software, I still have to be mindful of the art that I'm laying out to make sure that there's not, big wide open areas of art that are going to wash out when somebody throws it in a medium wash cycle, right side out. Because people are going to do that. You can put wash instructions on the inside of these shirts that say wash on cold, delicate, tumble dry inside out, hang dry, whatever. People aren't going to pay attention to that. So the burden, I said this in the Discord channel last night, the burden of creating a premium product and protecting your profit margins and your reputation falls on you as the business owner. And if you use a Ghost White toner conversion on a $200 printer and you produce a subpar result, and that hurts your name through word of mouth, you might not ever even hear about it. Somebody might buy the shirt, it cracks and washes out after 2 washes, and now they'll never buy another shirt from you. They'll tell their friends that they'll never buy another shirt from you, and you don't really know why you weren't successful, because nobody's giving you that feedback because they like you too much. On the same note, if you were to spend, I think you could get a setup for under $500 using, I saw one of the guys in our Discord has a heat gun, he's got a 1-station screen printing press, and he has a heat press, and that's how he does his screen printing. So he has obviously some darkroom stuff, but for under $500 he got set up with screen printing. Now he's able to run 20, 40, 50, 100 shirt jobs. It does take a lot longer. I will admit that flash curing your shirts with a heat gun at a minute and a half, using a temperature gun to make sure that it's gelled, and then curing them in a heat press is going to take a long time to get 50 or 100 shirts out. But we kicked out, several years ago now, we kicked out like a 6,000 or 7,000 imprint job for a municipality on a manual press in like 110-degree warehouse that wasn't air conditioned, you can do this kind of stuff. It just takes more work than if you had an automatic screen printing press and you can kick out 400 or 500 imprints an hour. Like there's a chasm. There's a chasm in equipment and experience and the funnel that you have to have in place to be able to justify jumping in 10 years in. And it's okay, I think, to start out inexpensively like that. And I coming full circle, the Ghost White toner quality could be an issue. Starting out with an inexpensive screen printing press, though, isn't going to produce a subpar result. So if you're using Plastisol ink and you're curing it on a heat press, and you could be doing this out of your bedroom, using your bathtub to wash screens out, and you're still going to produce a shirt that could last as long as the shirt ever will. You're talking about a print that's going to never wash out. And I think that's a really big key difference. Is you can produce professional quality results as long as you know how to use Photoshop and Illustrator, and as long as you can output screens and separations, and you know how to cure your shirt at 300 degrees. You can produce results on the level of professionals slower, but generate a good income and start establishing yourself as like a reputable vendor in whatever circle you've got. So that's all I have to say about an inexpensive laser printer versus an inexpensive screen printing setup. And then again, you know, there are some people who might be looking at these machines, and $20,000 for a DTG is outside their budget, or maybe it's on the border of being in their budget. But then they're looking at something like a $3,000 or $4,000 laser transfer printer, and they say, "Oh, that's nothing." And there's such a chasm. There's such a wide distribution of income levels when it comes to people who are watching these YouTube videos. $4,000 might be a nice weekend for somebody. On the other hand, $4,000 could be a year and a half's worth of savings for someone. So it's impossible to give general advice that applies to absolutely everybody in a way that makes sense, because if you're working a minimum wage job, you have no business looking at a $2,000 printing setup. You should be looking at a UDO for $99 and a heat gun and trying to earn some side money that way. But by that same token, you don't need to start out on the absolute rock bottom equipment if you have the budget, the disposable income budget, to jump in at a higher level, because money does make life easier on several levels. You know, you can short circuit a 5-year learning curve and cut that down to 3 to 6 months and pull in employees that already know their stuff if you have the money to build out a shop. You know, in fact, my third business partner, it was a team of 4 guys. It was a father who owned a nursery, one of his sons who was a real go-getter, and 2 people that knew the screen printing business. And the man who had the money had a $250,000 build out that they did for their screen printing and embroidery operation, and they were under the impression that they could get $750,000 in uniform and apparel business, and that just didn't happen. They were taken for a ride. The whole business imploded, and the father jumped out, the older son jumped out, and the younger son came in, and all the equipment was there. They had all of the presses, all of the entire warehouse was set up. I mean, it was great. They had a rhinestone cams machine, 3 really high-end Toyota embroidery machines. Like, just it was the works. And at this point, I was only turning about $45,000 a year, working out of a really neat place. Like, we had the place where I was at the time was a gymnastics, karate, cheer, dance, and daycare facility. I mean, you could not have more opportunity for business, especially with all the parents coming and going. But anyways, meanwhile, this other business was imploding, but they were able to go from 0 to $200 and something thousand in a year in like 12 months. So they go from 0 to almost $250,000 in business in 12 months because they were able to put in enough money to build out a fully functional facility. On the other hand, it took me 2.5 years to get to the point where I was turning $50,000 because I started on literally an antique press, and like this $800, we called it the Blue Beast. It was a brown Harco conveyor dryer that was a million years old. When I got it, it had Black Widow egg sacs that hatched, and I ended up with thousands of Black Widows all over my shop. I'll post a picture either in Discord or somewhere later on that'll show you, like, I trapped one in I don't know what they call it, like the red out emulsion blocker or whatever. Anyways, so it took me 2.5 years to get to $50,000 bootstrapping it, and I had help. You know, it wasn't like I did it completely by myself. I had help, but they were able to get there in 12 months. But whenever the people that knew what they were doing bailed out of the business, these guys didn't have the experience to run that operation, and they fell off. The business was falling off. The employees were running around doing literally whatever they wanted, and I was able to come in because of that opportunity. And I said, well, look, I can wear all the hats. I know how to run a successful operation. You know, I will teach you how to run the presses, and I'll teach you how to get these jobs and these sales. And I came in as a 50% partner in that operation, and that was because I had worn all the hats starting out and got a business started from nothing, as opposed to just jumping in and trying to hire people who knew what they were doing. So that's another consideration too. All right, so if you guys would like, I am open to any questions. We've got 7 people in here and 2 likes. If there's 7 people watching, I feel like we should probably have at least 7 likes, because I know people are jumping in and dropping off. But yeah, go ahead, make sure to like this video, and then if you guys have any questions, I am open to them, because I will probably be out here for another 5 or 10 minutes before I decide to go inside and lift. So, what do you got for me this morning? Oh man, this is the first time I'm actually looking at my reflection here. So what do we got? I'm looking at the chat. When is the event? We already talked about that. Good morning, Dep Dad. Eddie Jr., what's good? And then Danny, hit the bell, subscribe. I love it. Thanks, Danny. So I'm just curious, out of the 7 people that are in here, have any of you guys actually looked at the new videos that I've popped out about the iColor machines? I know there's been a little bit of feedback on them. Some people are wanting to see actual production with the laser transfer press. You know, actually, no, we're not set up as a vendor at that event. I drove by this morning and I realized that the race that was going on was today. That's how connected I am in the community right now. You got to remember though, we don't do live printing, and we don't have a retail location. So the majority of what we're doing right now is just shipping. We do pick up and drop off some stuff from Orlando to Tampa, but the majority of what we do is we ship it or we fulfill it. And you know, that's all through UPS and our website and things like that. But yes, so a lot of people were interested in seeing the iColor in action. And I mean, I don't know if I'm not necessarily against using the printer at all on video or anything like that. It's just in the 7 months that we've had the channel, I've never printed a single shirt on camera, even out of our automatic press. I think that's kind of like the shtick. So maybe at 10,000 subscribers, I'll do a manual labor reveal or something. But I think one thing I will do is show examples of the finished work. In fact, on the Discord channel, I opened it up, and I'll let you guys know now. If you guys are interested in getting a sample shirt, I don't have merchandise for sale for the channel because y'all are screen printers or interested in becoming screen printers, but I'm considering launching it. But if you're interested in getting a sample of what the transfer printer can do, I'm going to do like a 12x19 gang sheet, and then I'll cut one of the images out and I'll transfer it onto a shirt. I think I've got extra large, maybe a medium or 2 larges, XLs and 2XLs, and I'm probably going to film that video today. But I will put whatever art you want on the front of a shirt and send you the rest of the gang sheet with the shirt in the mail, and I'll put that on video. So if you want to like purchase your own shout out, I'm selling the shirts for 20 or 25 bucks, something like that, through PayPal invoices or whatever. But Stover Customs, Josh over at Stover Customs, he was the first one to jump on that. So we're going to put a couple shirts together for him and his wife to represent his YouTube channel that's coming back to life after having been down for a little while. He did cart builds. So he took like one of his videos from 4 or 5 months ago was him taking not a shopping cart, but like one of the ride-along shopping cart rascals, and converting it into like a go-kart that had a ton of power. But now he's getting into the apparel scene, and he's got all kinds of stuff to build out his studio, and we're going to give him a shout out and try to plug his channel to get him growing. I've got a couple people who emailed me, and I'm going to try to pull those shirts together. So it's going to be a show and tell, where we show off some of the artwork that we've done with the iColor, and we'll get up close and personal. It'll be a nice shout out for everybody who's there, who bought into that, and you guys get to walk away with some really cool merchandise on the tail end of that. But yes, I will be showing that off. And then I'm strongly considering on the flip side. Yeah, that's right. I forgot you're somewhat local. You're within a couple hours, right, Danny? But yeah, no, we do not have a storefront anymore. I shuttered the doors in January of 2017, and we went completely online only. So that was the change. I mean, I'll level with you guys. It's expensive to run a storefront. We had 7 employees. Oh, where do you live relative to Lakeland? But anyways, we had 7 employees at our peak. It was me, a business partner, and 7 employees. I don't know if that was, let me see, I'm not going to count through them all, but anyways, it was a lot. And the overhead on that location, everything we had going on was expensive. It was just shy of $15,000 a month to keep the doors open and keep everything running. And that's a lot of business that just has to flow through the doors to keep everything rolling. And what I found out, and this is the reason why we backed away from having retail, was at least for the location that we had, we would get a lot of just walk-in business that was $200, $400, $600 orders. It would tie up a lot of our employee time. And it was, even if we're doubling our money on it, the headache of dealing with, a low quantity, high volume type business is frustrating. You have to be very efficient to make your $500 a day nut, when it was really more than that, on a $700 job, that walks in the front door, especially when you can chase $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 jobs or do wholesale work and things like that. So we realized that we could cut about 80% of our business and cut down on our employee and labor costs and still walk out far ahead. And that's what worked out. We kept all of our wholesale business, our wholesale contacts. Some of our retail guys stuck with us that were higher volume, but we got rid of a lot of the chintzy stuff, a lot of the onesie, twosie, 24 shirt type deals. People always joke about, vacation Bible school, family reunion shirts, memorial shirts, things like that. It's a joke, but you get a lot of that chintzy business, a $200 order. And it's not to poo-poo a $200 order at all, but if to operate a $200, $300, $400, $500, $600, $700 order, you've got $250 in material costs, and you've got $300 in labor and electricity and lights and payments and everything like that, you're not coming out ahead. $75 to tie up a day is not functional. So we ended up breaking even a lot of months and then getting ahead on the big jobs. And I said, no, there's got to be a better way. And there was, and it's worked out. But let me read through the comments again, because I saw some stuff popping up when I was looking around. We were just in Davenport and Orlando. My wife and I went sourcing. So my wife is getting into sourcing and flipping because we've got 2 kids and she can't operate 40-hour week anything. So one of the kicks that she's on right now is sourcing shoes retail, and she's digging into the whole StockX deal where buying high-end special release shoes is a thing, and you can turn around and flip them. And then she loves thrift shopping, and she's got a little she's got a Poshmark thing with 130,000 followers. So she's turning business, and she's very entrepreneurial. But we were just in Orlando yesterday at the premium outlets picking out shoes and Coach bags and Kate Spade stuff. So Jeremy says, we're a small business adding white toner into our sublimation and vinyl small business. We're struggling to build clientele due only to ignorance of the process. Any recommendations to the build? Okay, so let me read this. Any recommendations to the build? So I guess my question is, when I'm discussing the process with customers, I'm not trepidatious, if that makes sense. So when I'm talking to somebody, especially one of my existing customers, let me bring in Marine Sports, Mike Rainier, into this. He's a wholesale buyer. They have a 120-page catalog they sell to dive shops all over the country, and he has mask straps for the back of the scuba masks, and they are made out of neoprene fabric. And they're 2 layers of neoprene. Now, neoprene is already, if you've ever had a mouse pad, you know that's a squishy material, the neoprene is. So it's got a lot of give, and it makes it very difficult to print on with an automatic press. You press on it, it shifts, you go back to press on it again, and it can play a little bit, so you end up with a double image on the screen printing press. So screen printing isn't really the ideal solution for his mask straps, his customized mask straps. Now, he's been getting some of the stuff sublimated, If he gets it sublimated overseas, he has to pull in 500 units pre-sublimated, and he gets them at Chinese prices, super cheap. That's fantastic. But if he comes to the US, he has to get it laser cut, and he has to get them sewn together, and then he has to get them sublimated at almost 4 times the cost to get them done local. Hey, Bagware, good to see you. We've been wondering how your automatic press build is coming together. So if you guys don't know, Bagware won the Ryonet giveaway of the Rock Automatic Press at the California show. So that's super cool, but I don't know if it's up and running yet for. We'll have to find out the details. But what was I saying? Oh, so anyways, the neoprene fabric isn't ideal for screen printing, even at 1 layer. The problem is these mask straps are sewn together in 2 layers sandwiched together. So you've got almost, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch of material, and it's separated. So when you press on it and then you press again, you always end up with like a millimeter drift of the double imaging. So it's not a viable solution for screen printing. However, with the White Toner laser transfer printer, I'm able to create a gang sheet of 1 3/4 by 3 inch imprints, which is perfect, in full color for him. And that's something that his competition can't do. They're using manual screen printing operation to run these neoprene pads, and that just occurred to me that they're using manual press, not an auto. So he needs his imprint cost though to be at $1 an imprint, ideally. But to run premium transfers, like I would want to do to get the brightest imprint on black neoprene that could off gas, we're looking at potentially having to charge $1.49. So a gang sheet of premium transfers is going to run me about 49 cents per imprint, and I'm going to have to charge him $1.49. So in our case, I told him, and I brought in samples to him to answer your question. I brought in samples and I said, look, this is what we would be dealing with exactly. This is an example of what it'll look like. The standard transfers on a black neoprene piece of fabric is not super bright compared to screen printing. Screen printing can be just extremely vivid, and you can put a thick deposit of ink down and it will stand off even polyester. However, the transfers are a little dimmer when we're using standard, so I wanted to use premium transfers to be brighter. What I found out though was that he didn't need premium transfers. He didn't need full color. There isn't a huge demand for it. The vast majority of his demand is 1 color. So I took a look and I said, okay, well look, we've got Presto transfers. I can get those for the same price as standard or select transfers. I think it's like $1.80 for a set. I can gang sheet those out. I can run these for you, and we're going to be able to hit $1.25. So it's not $1 like we would be if we were at screen printing with the LT inks, but it's also not $1.50. He was happy to meet me in the middle, and I told him, I said, look, the wash fastness of this, the stretchability of this, and I went through all of the different things, but I didn't come at it from an angle of, this is unproven, I'm not sure. I came at it from the angle of, look, you have a problem. Here's the issues with our existing printing solutions. Here's an opportunity to try something new. And he jumped in head first. Now we're going to try it with 300 or 500 pieces, something like that. And then if it works for this client, we're going to ramp it up to about 7,000 pieces a year. I mean, and our printing season is now. We have like a week to test it and see if it's going to work for us, because the printing season for scuba diving and all the dive season, that's happening right now. So in your business, I would say I wouldn't be hesitant to offer this as a solution, but you have to kind of know your business going into it. If you can't just run wide open areas of art and expect it to not crack, you're going to want to try to build in half-toning where possible, not only for the feel of it, but for the ability to continue washing it just under average conditions. So that's where I'm at with that. A friend has a thrift store for furniture. I don't know if I would ever create a storefront. I think for furniture or thrifting, things like that, I think most of what I would be interested in doing is expanding the online side of things. Now, I don't think that retail is dead, but I think that we're heading to the place where things like Amazon and shipping stuff to people all over the world is really changing things. We look at a lot of our local malls. I mean, this. Orlando is kind of a unique place because there's so much holiday traffic that a lot of the outlet malls and the outdoor malls are really successful. Even the indoor malls are really successful there. But when you get to places like Lakeland or like Hillsborough County and Tampa, these are places where people used to gravitate to the malls, and the Sears are going out of business. The JCPenney's are struggling. All of these different businesses are not as successful as they used to be. And now you're seeing like the tier 2 and tier 3 non-franchise stores cropping up. We were just at the Brandon Mall, I don't know what they call it anymore, but they have where Starbucks Tijuana used to be on a little corner area, and this is a high traffic mall. They got rid of the Tijuana and they put in, it was like a Plastisol transfer t-shirt store. No joke. So my wife and I walked in there and I said, I wonder what their business model is. I thought for sure they would have a DTG running in this business, but no, they're running, it's like a flea market stall, which actually gave me the idea for my comparison in that video the other day when I was talking about like Bubba's t-shirt trailer or whatever. This company legitimately has 100 designs. I'm just going to pull a number out of thin air. It was about 100 designs though, and they put them on a Pellon each, and it's just a Plastisol transfer. They can't pay more than 50 cents. These aren't even transfers that they're designing on their own. This is like the stock library of flea market transfers that you get from Stalls or FM Expressions or wherever, and they have them all along the wall. And you can pick a blank shirt, you know, a hoodie or a t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt, and you say, I want, you know, A45, and they pair that up, and then they have 3 vinyl plotters and a couple of heat presses or 1 heat press, and you can customize it. So you can say Tracy on the side of your Plastisol transferred shirt by using a vinyl transfer on top of it. It is super basic, and this business was relatively popping. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, man, you know, I know their cost of goods is dirt. You know, they can't be paying more than 20 or 50 cents for these Plastisol transfers. But if a business like that's creeping in here, and this is what's taking the place of the more established retail businesses, I feel like that's kind of a sign of the times. I feel like the clientele who are spending money are not going to places like that. So I wouldn't necessarily want to open up a screen printing storefront in the middle of a poppin' area like that. I would rather search engine optimize and start getting some of the bigger sales where they're happening. And I feel like antique stores and thrift stores in Florida, I don't know, maybe we'll get an influx of older people and sustain that, but I don't know. I'm leery of retail in the next 10 years. All right, so it's 30 minutes, a 30-minute live stream. We've got 10 of you guys in here. Let's get a couple more thumbs up. 4 thumbs ups on a live stream. It's painful to see. But yeah, man, I was surprised at how jam-packed those outlets were. They were very, very busy, and especially the Nike store, if you're talking about flipping, which is totally off topic. But if you're talking about flipping, there was like a dozen people that were all on their phones looking up like Mercari and StockX and Amazon and, you know, Poshmark, and they were all looking for like the deals, and it was a madhouse. And Nike knows what they're doing at these outlet stores. They say the truck comes every 5 hours. In reality, it's not the truck coming every 5 hours. They've got a bunch of stuff in the back, and they're metering it out. It's like opening packs of Magic cards or Pokemon cards. They put a couple of rares out there every 4 or 5 hours with a bunch of other shoes, and people just go nuts. Because, I mean, if you can get an overstock size 15 pair of shoes that you can buy for $100 that sells for $350 online, you're going to tell everybody, and it's going to blow that hype up, and you're going to, you know, all that just hype builds around it, and they know what they're doing. They've got stock of rare shoes in the back, but they're not going to put those out except every 4 or 5 hours. So it was interesting to see firsthand, because she's been doing a lot of research on Instagram and YouTube and things like that, and to see the transition of how it looks in real life and some of the things people don't talk about. But it's funny that we've got 14 people in here listening to me talk about flipping shoes, when we were supposed to be talking about laser transfer startup businesses. If you're here and you're jumping in late and you're not going to go back to the beginning of the video, I will reiterate, I think that if you're able to start up cheaply and you have very little money to work with, I would not finance any kind of machine. I would not finance any kind of equipment, even though my biggest gripe with DTG in the past was maintenance. In fact, I was talking to somebody yesterday evening in the Discord channel. I can't remember his name. It starts with an H, but he jumped into the video. Now, I've had a lot of people like saying, but what about the FreeJet, you know, the 330, or what about the GTX, or what about the this, or what about the $250,000 Cornet that pre-treats and runs 200 shirts an hour? There's a lot of people that have these yeah buts that they're asking about, you know, well, yeah, what kind of printer did you have? And they're trying to like discredit the experience that I had with my DTG based on what they've seen online. And most of these people aren't owners. But I was talking to him the other day, and he said that he has the Anajet 330. I don't FreeJet 330. I don't know. I don't own it, but it's the 330 TX. And I thought that was the one that was top tier. You know, it won awards 3 years in a row. It was top of the top. It had all these different systems in place to recirculate ink and everything like that. And he was saying, look, man, I've had all these same issues. Manual cleaning, tons of maintenance, can't leave for a long weekend. And this is on a machine that pops up in the advertisements of my videos 5 times. And it's really crazy to see that the machines on the market today maybe are fixing that. And I think the GTX, somebody approached me about that and they said, well, you need to know that the maintenance on the GTX is less bad. It recirculates ink, it has a wet capping station, different things like that. So not every machine is bad, but if you're looking at a machine that's $25,000 versus an iColor that can produce similar things, if you're willing to pay for the higher imprint cost at $4,000, I think that's a viable option if you're buying equipment. But if you don't have the budget to buy equipment, I think it's time to start cheap with something like screen printing or even vinyl transfers. Heat transfer vinyl, a little plotter is cheap, a couple rolls of vinyl from Specialty Materials, not hard. It's not hard to get going. It is labor intensive. You don't want to do 15 shirts on a vinyl plotter. We have accepted jobs on a vinyl plotter before that were way too intricate to weed effectively. It can turn into a nightmare quick on vinyl, which is what makes the transfer press or transfer printer so awesome, is because they have the fluorescent colors like you do on vinyl, but you can do just insanely detailed stuff. In fact, in one of my videos, I showed it was like a bunch of words on a transfer, and it was a metallic gold foil transfer, and all you do is you just peel it off and boom, it's all self-weeded, and you've got this metallic foil, and it's every bit as clear and crisp as it would be on a vinyl plotter. But it wouldn't take 4 hours to weed that transfer. So starting off cheap though, heat transfer vinyl, even like a $500 or $600 embroidery machine that can do left chests and caps, that's a good way to start depending on the avenue you want. And then, you know, a screen printing press that's using Plastisol inks. These are things that don't have like daily maintenance. Most of the people who are getting started don't have the headspace to operate an hour or 2 hours of maintenance a day, and it's really hard to emphasize how difficult it is to want to dedicate an hour or 2 to maintenance every single day. We've got lives. That's a lot of time to put to something, and you end up becoming a slave to it. It's like a dog or a cat that you have to get babysat when you go on vacation or you leave for a long weekend. And do you really want to do that, you know? All right, what is this, 8:54? I'm actually at the gym, but my lazy butt's sitting outside instead of doing cardio. So let me read through the text real quick, and then I will go inside, guys. So Danny said his friend's wife has a thrift store. Bagware said, what's up, Brands? I think we talked. We're so close waiting on the equipment to be delivered, and we're good to go. Man, I'm shocked that it's such a long process to get that automatic screen printing equipment up and rolling. I mean, my dad and I took a weekend trip up to Massachusetts to pick up my automatic press in a box truck. That was 1,500 miles that my back will never get back riding in a non-shock absorbed box truck bench seat. But we got it back and up and running within like a week and a half. It was pretty cool. Yep, the outlets are all jammed. Good to see Eddie Jr. I'd love to be able to pick your brain on your proven methods for sourcing clients. You know, Jeremy, I'll tell you one secret to finding clients anywhere in the world, and this is super cool. If you're interested in finding customers and you've got time on your hands, put together an email and think of it like a resume. So if you're cold prospecting customers, think of it like a resume. We did this with the 12 emails that I sent out. I think I even shared my script. I said, hello, to whom it may concern. You don't know who I am, but you know, this is who I am. This is the name of my business. This is what I do. I would love to work with you. You know, if you're not the person who I need to talk to, please forward my email to the person who I need to talk to. And then after I created an intro and like tried to explain what we could do and offered them as a service, I said, because you don't know me, because we don't have a warm market, that is a phone call. I'll have to call her back. Because it's a warm market, because you don't know me, here are some of the customers that I've worked with. And I listed 4 of our high profile customers, one of whom they were likely to know because he was in a similar industry. And I said, thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing back from you. I'd love to get in touch. And out of the 12 emails we sent, I think we got 3 sales, 2 sales. It was something, I don't know, whatever it was. We ended up with like a huge response rate, and the responses that we got turned into sales. And it was like $6,500 in business on 12 emails. 12 emails. It was like $500 an email. And I'm thinking, about it to myself later, anybody could have done this. Anybody in the world with a, they didn't know me. I sent emails and they fired off money from across. I mean, it was 3,000 miles away that these people were buying stuff from. It was literally Portland, Oregon, and I'm in Florida, and sight unseen, just sending an email and corresponding back and forth. These two different companies put in big numbers like that. And anybody can do that. They don't know that you are working out of, you know, your living room with a heat press and a U-Do with a heat gun. As long as you're producing good quality product, fire off these emails, man, and just prospect. And you will see, here's the kicker. Most people do this once. Most people try it. They send off emails once. They get discouraged when they don't get any sales, or they get blown out because they don't know the answer to a question, and they never do it again. But if you fire off 10 emails a day, and that's a goal I have for myself, firing off 10 emails a day to people that I haven't talked to before, and then following up to our existing customer base, because it is worlds easier. Even if we screw up, it is easier to hang on to a client than it is to find a new customer. So fire off emails, set yourself a goal, 5 or 10 a day, create a script, and then make it so that you only have to, in a Word document, change a couple of words, and make sure you know which ones those are. I would even go so far as to highlight them. So if you have, say you have a script, hello, Mr. Johnson, and you reference Mr. Johnson, you know, 4 sentences in, and maybe you have a line about their specific business that you're referencing, make sure you highlight those like in red, so you know, okay, I want to change this out to the, you know, the agricultural industry, or I want to change this out to the school industry. Make sure you're doing your relevant references or your relevant callbacks, and you're swapping those out. And then when you copy it over to a Gmail doc or a Gmail email draft, unformat it. All you have to do is unformat it. It'll get rid of all the highlighting and get rid of all the colored text, and then they don't know. So it's like, hello, Mr. Johnson, you know, I print this, that, and all the other. I've done this work in the agricultural industry. I would love to earn your business. Ha ha, funny joke about farming. Thank you. I hope to hear back. Set yourself a goal to send 10 of those out a day, and using that like template that you create, and just get better and better and better. And I guarantee you, not one of you guys watching this, if you were to send out 4,000 emails over the course of a year and a half, wouldn't have a successful business up and rolling. It just wouldn't happen. So I think that's something interesting. And now I'm looking at myself, I'm thinking, you know what? I got to start prospecting more. You know, that's something that everybody has to do, and it's easy to forget and neglect. So on that happy note, 42 minutes into a live stream that I wasn't even sure I wanted to do, I'm going to call it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And like I say in my other videos, I'll see you in the next one.